Hello, everybody. Josh Neighbors here, Locked On Big 12 podcast. Today, it is March 7th, 2022. Today's show is brought to you all by Stat Hero. First time on camera here in about a week or so. So glad to be back here in the United States doing shows again. On today's show, we are going to discuss the all Big 12 teams that were released. We just saw come out on Sunday for men's basketball because there have been some different thoughts on some of the awards, and some of the awards, obviously, I think we all feel like they got pretty much correct. And then also I want to talk about Coach K. Coach K was honored on Saturday. I just have a couple thoughts about how that went down, because obviously there was a tie-in with that Kansas and Texas game going late. So busy show coming up today. We'll also take a look at the Big 12 basketball bracket, the men's tournament starting this week in Kansas City, and take a look at that and just start looking ahead. So fun show coming y'all's way.
You are Locked On Big 12, your daily podcast on the Big 12 Conference, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Once again, hello everybody. Josh Neighbors here for the Locked On Big 12 podcast. Busy show coming your all's way. So we got to get to these awards that just came out. But first, I wanted to start with the Coach K stuff, because I just saw a report that said people at Duke are, upset that Carolina did not honor Coach K, which I found absolutely appalling. Because, well, number one, they're your biggest rival. Number two, they're in no position to have to do so. I mean, those two things together, they're your rival and they are not in any position to have to honor Coach K. Now, you got the win on their floors. That felt pretty good. But this weekend, when Coach K retired, I've seen so much media cheerleading for the way that he handled it after the game, where he's like, what happened today was unacceptable. Most of the season has been very acceptable. Here's my thought on Coach K. He's the greatest college basketball coach of all time, I wasn't around for John Wooden, but greatest college basketball coach of all time, in my opinion. I think the last 6 years, he just hasn't been very good at coaching. I think since their last title, it's been a whole lot of one-and-dones, rolling the ball out and not really coaching the guys up. I think it's an absolute travesty that the Zion Williamson team did not make the Final Four. I think that last year's team was way too talented to not make the NCAA tournament. So I think there's a confluence of things the last couple of years that just showed he's deteriorating. So, calling it quits at the right time. But he asked for this vanity tour. When he said it's my last season, people kind of perked up. They were like, oh, really? Coach is kind of calling it, the last ride, and he's picking his successor. It sounds like the people at Duke wanted Tommy Amaker from Harvard, Duke guy, but no, Coach K said that he wanted John Shire. I like John Shire. I think he actually might be a pretty good coach. But last few years, man, Coach K has been doing stuff that just kind of rubs me the wrong way. And so, talking to Dylan Brooks in line after that game a couple years ago and saying you're better than that after he threw a half-court shot, it's like, no, you coach your players and Dana Altman will coach his. I thought that was Bush League. I thought him asking that the reporter, student reporter, I think it was last year, what's your major, kind of belittling the kid like that. I thought the retirement tour has been a bit odd. I think the short handshakes when he loses games and the lack of compliments are just disingenuous. He's very quick when he loses, and he's so gracious, when he wins games. And, I think all of these things have come together, to give this whole tour just this really weird feel. And Saturday, I thought was kind of reaping what he was sowing, because you put a lot of pressure on a team that it's really been led by three freshmen with Banchero, Griffin, and Mark Williams. And so when you have a team like that, that's, led by young guys, especially Banchero and Griffin in terms of the scoring, that's just way too much pressure to put on when it's your final game. And so Carolina went in there and kicked their ass in the second half. And I'll be honest, I was not too upset to see it happen. I was not too upset to see that happen. And look, I think Coach K kind of once again set himself up for this. But people who are cheerleading him after the game, being like, we went out there and he owned it. It's like, the dude loves the attention. Also, he made the caveat. He's like, I think most of the season has been very acceptable. Yeah, but you made us throw a whole party for you the whole season in your final game when Adam Silver is there and Kyler Murray is there and Jerry Seinfeld is there. We're making a whole big deal about it. You got your ass whipped in the second half against your biggest rival. And so, kind of going out with a whimper at home there, like I think he kind of put himself in that position. And so I'm very interested to see how this team is going to respond during the NCAA tournament, because that was a very weird situation. But that to me, people were complaining about watching Texas and Kansas in overtime because the Coach K coverage. Give me a break. Seriously, give me a break. The Big 12 has been better basketball all season long than the ACC has been. I know it's Coach K's last game, but enjoy two really good teams going at it in overtime in college basketball's best arena, Allen Fieldhouse. Just it was frustrating to see a lot of the reactions, the entire situation, people saying good on Coach K for owning it. It's like, it just goes out there to talk, this is not part of the deal. I just wanted to say that was unacceptable today. It's like, dude, you put yourself in this spot. And, for you to then say, well, I think most of the season's been acceptable. Yeah, obviously, you're the one seed in the ACC. It's been a bad conference. You probably should be there. But yes, generally speaking, it's acceptable. I didn't think he had to do that. And all of it in the end felt painful, weird, and awkward. And so I think we're, with this, it's just been a weird situation. And now seeing the report that Duke people are miffed about it, just give me a break. Coach K doing, also the one thing that's rubbed me the wrong way about Coach K for a long time is how he does he has the assistants do the halftime interviews. Some could say, yeah, it's an easier way to get in there faster and start coaching your team up. Also, it's just I'm above doing interviews. I'm above giving my time to some of these people, generally speaking. So, I'm not, you can tell I'm not a massive Coach K fan. I am somebody that is not going to let how I feel about him, personally, and some of the stuff that he said and done, take away from the fact that I think he is the greatest college basketball coach, at least I've ever seen. He's done a great job coaching Team USA. We've seen them struggle a little bit, not getting the amazing results that we saw when he took over the team and coached them back up to win at the Olympics. And so, with that, I think there's still some reason to be skeptical about how much cheering we should be doing here on the way out, even during losses. I don't really feel bad for Coach K. I think it's weird for people who are so happy by the way that he handled it afterwards. All right, so let's get some of these Big 12 awards. First, a quick word from our sponsors. Today's show is brought to you all by BetOnline and BetOnline.net. NCAA tournament here just around the corner. Best way to get in on the action on these games is go to BetOnline and BetOnline.net. You guys can do it on your phone, on your tablet, whatever device you guys use on your computer. They've got the latest odds, totals, player performance props, which coach can get fired, all kinds of things like that. Even had AEW last night. They had some AEW odds if you're into wrestling that you could bet on there. Not just basketball, once again, UFC, boxing, Olympic sports. If curling comes back pretty soon, you can bet on that as well. Head once again to BetOnline and BetOnline.net. BetOnline, it's where the game starts. Also, another awesome sponsor we're super pumped about is Run Your Pool. March Madness starts next week. We are, 8 days away from the first four starting in Dayton, Ohio next Thursday. Selection Sunday is obviously coming this Sunday. And so you guys need to get over to runyourpool.com. Along with standard brackets, Run Your Pool offers game types like Survivor and Pick X, both really fun in their own way. They have options to edit scoring. They offer more intel to make your picks and all the stuff that you just won't find on ESPN or CBS. If you've got a business, Run Your Pool can help you make some of that madness magic and play alongside your employees or even gain some customers. If you guys want to play against us for a shot at a cash prize, join us at runyourpool.com/lockedon. And while you're there, create your own pool with your friends and family. Enter Pure Madness at checkout for $10 off your custom pool. All the rules and details will be available there. That's runyourpool.com/lockedon for your chance to win cash prizes. We look forward to seeing you there. All right, so we have the awards, the Big 12 awards. Let's just go with the first team first, all right? So this is your all Big 12 first team. James Akinjo, Isaiah Brockton, Oshai Agbaji, Nigel Pack, Bryson Williams. This is generally speaking the team that I would have picked. I'll put it up there one more time for you all to see. The one place where I might have flipped was James Akinjo. He is a very good passer. He's a very good player in general, right? James Akinjo, very good player. The efficiency, if you guys have heard me talk on here before, the shooting numbers bother me. Like, he had a couple really nice games here in the end. He had 19 against Texas, who knows a good defensive team. Hit some big shots. It was 19, 8, and 7 in that game, was 6 for 14. Then against Iowa State, another really good defensive team, 26 and 4 on 7 of 14 shooting. But the dude has dropped some real stinkers in there. 2 for 10, 2 for 9. I mean, these are the three. I'm just going to read the three previous games. 2 for 10, 2 for 9, 4 for 15. 6 for 12, which is a very good game in their loss against Texas Tech. 4 for 11, 5 for 15, 0 for 11, 7 for 17, 4 for 13, 1 for 8, 1 for 6, 1 for 8, 5 for 14. So I'm going all the way back here to January 11th. And since January 11th, he's had 2 games where he has shot 50% from the floor. Now, look, I know that's not like, it's a tough number to hit sometimes, but Alondas Williams over at Wake Forest is shooting 50% from the floor. He's a 30% three-point shooter too. So, like, asking a guy who's a guard to win, when you're on first team, I know Alondas won Player of the Year, but like asking a guard to shoot roughly around 50% is not. I feel like I'm not crossing a bridge too far here because, for him, I mean, like, once again, the numbers, they're so bad for me shooting wise. Like, that's why I'm almost opposed to having him on there. 39% from the floor, 31 from 3, and then 83 from the line is very good. So we're good with that. But, like, let's compare that to Nigel Pack, who is, I think, on the probably the lower end in terms of guys in this group shooting the basketball at a high percentage. Isaiah Brockton, I'll get to you in a second. I love you. You're fine. Pack is, I think, towards the lower end, maybe 46, 44, 83. That's really freaking good, and he definitely deserved being on first team. We can go now Brockington next, just pulling these up right now as we're going along. Isaiah Brockington, you might be saying, well, Josh, it's not about these guys. It's about the guys who didn't make the team that we usually look at. 47, 39, 77 splits for Brockington. Then Ochai Agbaji, another guy who obviously in the team. Bryson Williams will leave alone just because he's not really in the same wavelength as, they're just different players. Bryson Williams, who we'll also get to in a second, is awesome. 47, 41, 77. 48 rounding up there is what I usually do. So, the percentages for him are just way off, and he's just not a very efficient scorer. Once again, very, very plays really hard, played hurt at times, is an excellent passer and good playmaker, and has hit a lot of clutch shots. That's what puts him over the edge. When you go to the guys who are on second team, Flagler, Brown, Miles, Timmy Allen, and then Taz Sherman. I think the problem is that we felt like we had to have a guy on this team from Baylor, and James Akinjo just became the default guy. Now, I don't necessarily agree with that. I don't know if Taz Sherman should be on here because the team was so bad. Like, I think like just putting up empty calories sometimes is not enough unless it's like really, really good. But for me, Flagler is scoring at the same clip, 3 assists, much lower, say half of what Akinjo is doing, but 13.8 points per game, so almost at 14. He's averaging 45%. He's shooting 45% from the floor, 42 from 3, 75 from the line. There's a level of efficiency there with Adam Flagler that I feel a bit more comfortable with giving him a nod. I know just looking at the numbers is not fair, but like Flagler, to me, I feel much more confident in some situations than I do. That 5-0 run he had by himself against Texas, I mentioned it last week, was tremendous. So I think Adam Flagler's the guy I would have put on first team. I don't think Mike Miles, he didn't play well, for large stretches of the season. Taz Sherman, once again, the rest of the team sucked so much and really held him back. I think in this conference, like Kansas State being pretty mediocre was kind of the cutoff for why a guy like Nigel Pack got on. Christian Brown's the other one. I saw Chris Spatola make the argument. And Chris does a lot of Big 12 games. I know he's an ACC guy. That's what people know him as an ACC guy. But Spatola knows his, and I work with him some over at SiriusXM. He knows his stuff. Christian Brown was 51, 38, and 73, and averaged 15 a game. So I'm much more comfortable putting a player like that over. I would put him and Flagler both over Akinjo. If you're just trying to satisfy the best, you need a player from what was one of the two conference champions, then I get it, I understand it, but like if you're going to go that route, go with Flagler, although Christian Brown's numbers are a bit better. But sure, if you feel like a Baylor guy's got to be there representing Baylor, I would have gone a different direction than James Akinjo. All defense, JTT, love to see him on this list. DeJuan Harris, no doubt about that. Marquise Knoll, very good. Musa Cisse, love the way he played this year. And Gabo Saboyan, what a player. One of the, not a great offensive player, but you always know what you're going to get from defense. He was like the only good defensive player they got. Newcomers, Brown and Akinjo, Brown and Sohan were going to be on the team. This is the freshman team, excuse me. KJ Adams began to get more minutes progressively. Really good. Tyrese Hunter from Iowa State, trying to be that second banana. Sometimes not always successful, but getting better as the season went along. And then CJ Nolan from Oklahoma. The newcomer team, which is now in college basketball, slowly becoming you basically fill out like an all-conference team with some of these guys. Akinjo, Brockington, Mark Smith, Timmy Allen, Bryson Williams. Yeah, I mean, there are a few ways you could have gone with this one, but I think Isaiah Brockington obviously is the one that stands out to me. The only other guy I would have kind of taken for player of the year considerations, in my opinion, was Isaiah Brockington. Mark Smith had a really nice season as well. Timmy Allen stepped up in a couple big games, and Bryson Williams slowly became a really consistent offensive player, especially when TJ Shannon was dealing with injuries and when Kevin McCullough was dealing with injuries as well. So having both those guys out gave them a chance to prove themselves. We'll hit some of these individual awards here in a second. One more quick word from our sponsors. Today's show here at Locked On Big 12 is brought to you by our friends at Stat Hero. You all love March Madness. I love March Madness. We love the brackets. But I can't remember the last time I actually went deep or even won any money. That's not true. I'm hedging my bets this year with Stat Hero, NCAA's Pick'em contest. Anyone take, let's just say, any upset that happens to you to bust your bracket. Well, when that happens, you guys can go to Stat Hero and still do Pick'ems at a certain point. Just because the bracket's busted doesn't mean it's over for you. They've got the single game Pick'ems. You guys can pick players and things like that. You can focus on certain stats, odds, and you don't always have to do funky props, but you can if you want to. Stat Hero is just easy. It can be simple as you like sometimes. So guys, go to Stat Hero today. Sign up for free right now at stathero.com/lockedon and use the promo code. Once again, Locked On is there for a 100% deposit match. That's stathero.com/lockedon. Use promo code LOCKEDON for a 100% deposit match. stathero.com/lockedon. Once again, promo code LOCKEDON. Terms and conditions do apply. And our friends at Built Bar are also sponsoring this show as well today. Go to Built.com. That's Built.com. Check out the line of Built Bars that they've got right now. Plenty of delicious flavors. Mint brownie, coconut almond. New this month, white chocolate cookies and cream. They're all delicious. New flavors coming out all the time, so make sure you guys check out over there. 130 calories, 4 grams of sugar, 4 grams of net carbs with most Built Bars. So you guys make sure you go check that out. Built.com, promo code LOCK15, LOCKED15, LOCK15 for 15% off at Built.com today. All right, so your coach of, this is the one that really caught a lot of people's eyes, your coach of the year. Player of the year, Ochai Agbaji, nobody's going to argue about that, right? Really been awesome all year. Did have some moments where he kind of fell off shooting the ball, but he was best player in the conference this year, no doubt. So congratulations to Ochai. So the coach of the year. This gets to a really interesting argument because I had said that the national coach of the year race was down to 3 coaches, in my opinion. Thought it was Bruce Pearl, thought it was Tommy Lloyd, thought it was Mark Adams. Mark Few might throw his name now in the ring for that, I guess you could say, but I don't really know. My thing is this, like if Scott Drew wins coach of the year in the Big 12, then he probably should end up winning national coach of the year. Here's the thing. So like I I had put out on Twitter that I think, and I put all this on the show, that I think Scott Drew is the best coach in college basketball. I 110% do. I know Texas Tech swept them. We're talking about a 3-year body of work. I've mentioned this before. The only team in all of Division I basketball with a better record over the course of the last 3 seasons is Gonzaga. Now, the big difference is, Baylor ain't playing, Pacific twice a year, right? In the conference schedule. And also, they're challenging themselves out of conference as well. They went down to Atlantis, won that tournament. They're playing teams like Villanova. All right. They played, I'm trying to figure out who else, I'm trying to remember who else they played. But once again, challenging non-conference schedule, very challenging conference schedule. All right. They're going down. They're losing players left and right. They're still winning this year. They won a title the year before. They're going to be like a 2 seed the previous year. In the Power 5 ranks or in Power Conference ranks, right? Pac-12, ACC, even throw the Big East in there, Big Ten, SEC, in all of those conferences, right? And the Big 12 obviously is included in those. Nobody has won more games than in the last 3 seasons than Scott Drew. And I'm not really talking about the award right now. This national coach of the, or the Big 12 coach of the year right now. But like over the course of time, the last 3 years, like he is the guy. He has been the best coach in college basketball over the last 3 seasons. He got a championship. He had a really good team back in 20. They got better in 21. And then in 22, after losing so many critical parts, they've revamped, they've retooled, and not in the most likely of places. It's a mixture of guys they had before. It's a mixture of guys they've brought in. And so it's become this fun collective of players, but then they began to get injured, right? And so Sohan, my guy Sohan at the 5, you guys know I love seeing that lineup. And then, having to deal with the LJ Cryer injury and JTT and only having 7 players and Bonner being the 7th guy. So it's really only 6, and Matt Meyer hasn't played that well. And James Akinjo is their best player and doesn't shoot 40% from the floor. Like this team is still co-Big 12 champions this year. And it just shows how amazing Scott Drew is. So I don't know if I can argue with that. I think we all love the Mark Adams story because, he's a hell of a coach. He's a hell of a coach this year. But like, you can't tell me that Mark Adams in general terms is a better coach than Scott Drew. We got to keep seeing it. Now, we make some inferences that he's probably near or beyond on his level. Sure. But we don't know that for sure. Yes, he's beat him twice, but come on. This isn't about head to head. Basketball seasons are long. This is a body of work. And you tell me who you take this March on a neutral floor. Once again, I know they beat him twice, but they've each had awesome seasons. Scott Drew, just given the circumstances, I know once again, they got a lot of good players and they should be good, but they were awesome. And this Texas Tech team, we undervalued them way too much. I know they had guys from all over the place, and great job by Mark Adams to make them click. And I definitely think his case is so strong for Big 12 Coach of the Year. I'm just saying, like, either case is strong. And if you were to say, all right, with tiebreakers head to head, it's got to be, who won the actual games. All right. It's going to be, Scott Drew, or excuse me, it's going to be Mark Adams. Like, I get that. Sure. Maybe that's what you think. But also the same thing, you could say, well, Scott Drew won the conference. He won a share of the conference title. So while you might have the head-to-head wins, the conference title belongs to Scott Drew. So there's arguments going both ways. My thing is this, like, they keep saying the winner of the Big 12 is going to get a 1 seed. That's true. Most likely true, depending on who wins it. But looks like I think Kansas or Baylor at this point probably going to be a 1 seed. Is that the same for the Coach of the Year award? Like, is it Scott Drew or is it Mark Adams? I think there's a great argument for both those guys being National Coach of the Year. National Coach of the Year usually is a story. I think Auburn's story has not been as good, as of late. I think Mark Adams still has a great case. I think Tommy Lloyd's kind of there now because in terms of the narrative, right? They're still near a 1 seed, and that's kind of been a great story with the way Sean Miller, I think Sean Miller left the program and now he came in and did so well. But I think there's a really good case that Mark Adams and Scott Drew are like 2 awesome candidates for Coach of the Year. Like, there is a really good case that Scott Drew is the Coach of the Year. There's also an awesome case for Mark Adams to be Coach of the Year. And that story is actually a little bit better than Scott Drew's story. I think in terms of the actual results at a national stage, Baylor still being a 1 seed, still winning the Big 12 after what they lost last year and after and look, I know once again, it's like, well, they still have talented players. They should be good. Yeah, they lost 3 NBA players and a guy who's on the Kansas City Chiefs right now, Mark Vital. All right, one of their leading scorers this year dropped, LJ Cryer. they're all defense, co-defensive player of the year, rim running, awesome, stretch you out, nasty big. JTT goes down, and he's dealt with that. And they're extending their lead late in games against Kansas and Texas, and they're getting away from teams, and they're making, except for the Iowa State game, but they're making, and they ended up getting a share of the Big 12 title in spite of those things. That, to me, in terms of results, is another awesome case for Coach of the Year. So not only do Mark Adams and Scott Drew both have a claim to Coach of the Year, they have a claim to to National Coach of the Year as well. Running down some of the other awards here real quickly. Well, I told you guys about second team: Flagler, Braun, Miles, Allen, and Sherman. Honorable mentions were Mojo Gibson, Jordan Goldwire. Well, those guys from Oklahoma. Matthew Myers, Sohan. I wouldn't put those guys on there. That's the one they have on this list. And newcomer of the year was Isaiah Brockton. Just so pleased with the way that he played this season. I just can't say enough good things about the way he came in and just made himself the guy. And from all accounts, he's just such a hard worker, and he is a worker, and he's pushed that team to those heights. So very glad for him. All right, let's touch on this Big 12 basketball tournament. A lot up for grabs, couple one seeds, or one seed could be up for grabs. Baylor's in the one line right now, according to Joe Lunardi. 6 teams in as it sits at this moment. It's going to be Baylor, it's going to be Kansas, it's going to be Texas Tech, it's going to be Texas, it's going to be TCU, it's going to be Iowa State. There are no other teams right now, according to Joe Lunardi, not saying he's gospel, but no other teams right now, according to Joe Lunardi, from the Big 12 that are near the bubble. Baylor right now is a 1 seed. They're the number 2 overall seed at this moment in time. Auburn is a 2 seed. Kansas has been, Auburn's the last 2 seed, I believe. Kansas has been pushed all the way to a 3. If they make a run and win this thing, you'll see them get bumped up to that 1 line. It feels like there is a 1 that's vulnerable. Kansas on the 1 line, not a 3 seed. So he does have 2 Big 12 teams in. Maybe losing a spot is potentially on the line. Depends on what you guys think of Auburn and Kentucky. I think one of those teams, if they win the SEC tournament, which is not a given, will have a good shot at getting a 1 seed. Duke and Wisconsin also are there, but I think there's some questions about the strength of the ACC. So Wisconsin, probably the only other one out of those 2 that's got a shot to make it. I'm not sure winning the ACC, unless something else would have to happen to get them a 1 seed. It's there. Right now, Iowa State's on that 8-9 line. Opportunity for them to play themselves off that if they have a really good, strong run, because you don't want to be playing 1 seeds. It's just, this team that can beat them. They can beat a 1 seed, but you want to get yourself off the line. TCU also in the same position as well. So they are right there too. All right, so we'll take a look at the Big 12 basketball tournament as its conference championship. We also, if you are a gambler, as I am, this is like the best week of the year. This is Christmas. I actually kind of like conference championship week, to be honest, a bit more than I like. It's actually like the conference championship week a bit more than I like the first week of the NCAA tournament. I know that's kind of a blasphemous thing to say, but just the fact there's basketball from 12 o'clock on all the way through the rest of the day, I just absolutely freaking love it. But this Big 12 basketball tournament, check it out right here. So I should have posted this on there. Your 8-9 matchup, we're going to get somebody posted the college football playoff, or somebody posted a Big 12 football playoff right there. All right, so in the 8-9 matchup, it's going to be Kansas State and West Virginia on ESPN2 at 6 o'clock Eastern on Wednesday night. Then Kansas will get the winner of Kansas State and West Virginia, TCU and Texas in a 4-5, which is exciting. Baylor, Oklahoma in the 2-7, and everything's kind of shifted here just a little bit, but 3-6, Texas Tech and Iowa State, which should be an outstanding game. So that's how the bracket is shaking up here. 4 awesome games coming up on Thursday. We'll have a full preview of that tomorrow. Make sure you follow us on Twitter at LOBig12. You guys can follow me at JoshNeighbors_. Till next time, my friends, as always, stay safe.